the work of an Iowa-based organization, Bailing Out Benji, kind of helped spark this investigation. Can you tell me about that?
That resolution filed in King County Superior Court requires the company to pay the state $3.75 million with interest.
Bailing Out Benji regularly looks through these records of dogs' movement from state to state.
Bailing Out Benji
played a key part in unraveling a nationwide puppy scheme.
Bailing Out Benji,
an organization that's been working across the country to stop the pipeline of puppy mill breeders.
Bailing Out Benji.
I will use my voice because they don't have one, and I will keep doing it until there are no more puppy mill dogs.
Hey listeners, Jelaine here. I just wanted to pop in and give y'all a heads up on this episode. This episode does contain some heavy and honest conversations about mental health and suicide. If you are not in the headspace to hear this episode right now, we totally understand that. Please skip this episode. Don't listen to it right now. It will always be here for you to come back to at a later time when you're in a better headspace. We'll be linking some resources in the show notes. So please, please, please take care while listening, and remember to treat everyone with kindness and hold on to your community.
Welcome to this week's episode of Bailing Out Benji's podcast, Truth, Lies, and Puppy Mill. I'm Mindy, and I'm sitting here with Kristen. And this week we are going to take a quick pause on talking about breeder stuff. Is this going into that spot? I don't know. This week we're going to talk about the importance of being kind to each other because the world is heavy and the rescue community just lost someone who was very, very well known. She unfortunately died by suicide because of online bullying and harassment, and it's really horrific and unfortunate that this is something that seems to be a norm in the rescue community, in the animal welfare community. It seems to be the norm to be okay with just being cruel.
Yeah. And I think online in general, it's just gotten so bad as people feel like, I don't know, I always say, like, you wouldn't say it to someone's face, but you'll say it from behind a screen. I fear we're edging more into the territory where people are comfortable saying it to people's face at this point. But definitely online, it's so bad on social media, and it has been interesting to see how prevalent it is in this industry. And I can't really compare it. I've been in mental health for over 20 years and haven't seen that there. I don't know if this plays out in other areas as well, but it's been bothering to see the way people are judged and talked to, and jumping to conclusions about someone's motives, and just the attacks online. You've been doing this a lot longer, so I know you've seen it a lot more. Do you think it's gotten worse? So you've been doing this work for over 10 years, almost 15 years, officially doing this work. Do you think, obviously social media has grown since you started, but do you think it's gotten worse progressively through time?
Yeah, I think that our industry really falls into the trope of we all know what's best and we all know the right way and we all have our own opinions. Yeah. And whenever someone defaults from perfection or takes a different path, it gets really heated. And I do agree with you that social media has made it worse. I think it was easier early on. Like most people know, if you followed Bailing Out Benji, I used to give presentations called Dogs Not Drama. And I would go around and talk about what it was like being a young person coming into this work, trying to do my best, trying to educate, and then being met with animosity. And when I first started, it was like rescue communities focused. It was very small. And now, of course, that we are national, the attention we get comes from all over, good and bad, right? And I think social media has made that so much worse. It is easier to pretend like someone doesn't matter because they're a random name on a Facebook page. And we even saw that with some of the posts we've made over the past few weeks of like our online search engine and stuff. People are in the comments like, you know, if you come on my property, I'll shoot you. It's like, well, no one is doing that. You're not even, that person was like in wildlife or exotic animals. Like they weren't anything close to what we were doing. And I just think social media made it easy for people to dehumanize and post and ghost. Like you post what you want and you walk away and you don't care what the ramifications are.
Yeah. Yeah. And words matter. I think we don't often consider the impact of the things that we say, whether it's criticizing somebody, and you don't know the headspace that person's in when they read that comment. You don't know what's going on in their lives when they read that comment. And then even just the things that we say, I mean, we talk about, you know, I was at a pet expo and someone said that talking about puppy mill breeders and that they should all be burned alive. We do not condone that. We do not wish that. I mean, even on the worst offender, we don't wish them death. We wish them better. We either wish them away from dogs or we wish them into some help where they can be better at what they do, but we don't wish them death. And we say things like that kind of offhandedly, like, well, I'll shoot you if you come on my property, or they should be burned alive, or and it's like, it's really careless to say things like that, and it normalizes that kind of talk, and it's dangerous.
Right. I mean, and I think people also forget on some level, like what you say online, they're still your words. And so if you're making threats against people and you're bullying people, like you can be held accountable for those actions. And like this person, you know, Michaela Rains, who recently passed away, she was getting the bullying and the harassment from her colleagues. And you had noted, going on their Facebook page, like 2 days before she had made a post, and all of the comments were so loving and positive, and she had that support from her circle. But when you're looking at your colleagues and your colleagues are saying the most atrocious things and telling you that your work doesn't matter, you shouldn't be doing that work, like that's not fair and that's not okay to put on another human. We're all, at the end of the day, running separate organizations, and we all get to dictate how those organizations run. And as long as the animals aren't being, you know, harmed, I think it's okay for people to explore different options and different ways of doing things. And that's what we talked about so often. But that pushback and the fear of change is what causes people to lash out, I think, and make those atrocious comments.
And I think we need to really examine the motives on social media, especially when you are making an attacking comment to someone on social media. I do not think that you are trying to speak to that person. I think you are trying to speak to the other people who are on that person's post. You're trying to either get a rise, you're trying to make people think a certain way. If we post something as bailing out Benji and someone has a lot of big feelings about what we have posted or a lot of questions about what we have posted, if they comment on our post and are just bashing and negative and telling us we should be shut down and that we're just as bad as what, that means nothing to me. That is trolling behavior. If you have a legitimate concern with what we posted, our contact information is everywhere. Reach out to us, have a conversation. So when it almost feels like a sport for some people to post these things in the comments on posts. I promise you, whatever we post, if you comment that, we're ignoring it or deleting it, depending on how bad it is. You are not getting through to us that way. You are just spreading hate. If they're any organization, not bailing out Benji, anyone that you feel that passionately that you need to blast them, if you're not willing to send them an email and start the conversation in a civil way, don't leave the comment. If you do, you're just doing it for sport, and yeah, it means nothing.
Exactly. And I think like in this world, we hear a lot, like in the dog world, we hear a lot that like veterinarians have a high rate of suicide. And a lot of that is because of, I mean, debt in general. School debt is wild for veterinarians, but imagine going to like room to room and having to euthanize people's pets and then having to walk to the next room and be okay with, you know, that family. So we already know that there's a high rate of suicide in, yes, yeah, in the vet world. There's actually a movement called Not One More Vet, NOMV. And so it's vets that are trying to get other veterinarians the support they need and the help they need. So our world acknowledges that. We acknowledge how hard it is to be a veterinarian in this space. We do not show that grace to each other. The people who are burnt out because they've been pulling dog after dog after dog from kill shelter, you know, or people like us who see the videos and the photos and we're the ones who are trying to make change in that way. It's heavy. Our whole world is heavy. And you could completely change someone's day by being kind. But the opposite is also true. And social media feeds into the anger and allows for that to grow in such a gross way. And I don't really.
It's rewarded. And we know, I mean, it's human nature. The negative feedback carries so much more weight than the positive feedback. So you can have a post where everyone is showing their support and telling you how much they love you and how they're proud of you and you're doing great work and you're making changes. But these voices over here, combined with our own insecurities and our own voices in our heads, is way more powerful. And that's where, I mean, we have to, I think ultimately this entire community needs to be better about supporting one another, about understanding that there are many ways to improve the work that we're trying to do, and that not one of us has the answer, but together we can make real change. And on a smaller scale, the people doing this work need to make sure that they're taking care of themselves, that they have safety plans for when things are getting heavy and scary, and people they can reach out to and trust, and people in their circles who can tell them when it looks like things are getting scary and maybe they need to step back. And that looks different for everybody, and that's not easy. And I get that, but I do think, and not just in animal welfare, I think any of the work, whether it's working with, you know, youth or, you know, any social justice initiatives, it's heavy work. And absolutely no progress is made when people are bullying and shaming and spending so much energy focused on one another instead of focusing on the problems that are trying to be fixed.
Like, we're supposed to be focused on the work, and instead we are focusing our attention on the people who are also trying to focus on the work. And it's just, it seems counterproductive. And to be honest, it's also a waste of people's donations and stuff, right? Like, if you're wasting your time and your resources bashing and going after someone else,
or having to defend yourself from those who are bashing you and going after you, both sides of it,
you just lose focus and takes away resources. So
and this is exactly how, like, on large scale systemic issues, like, that's a strategy, right? That's a strategy of the system that you're working against. Is if I can get them fighting each other, they're no longer fighting me, and they're no longer keeping the plot or the focus, because now they're just going at each other, and that's a victory to the cause that you're trying to fix.
And like, to tie it into our work a little bit, obviously we've been talking a lot in this podcast about being kind and recognizing that breeders are also human, which sounds so silly to say out loud, right? That someone breeding dogs is a human. But we have actively worked to dehumanize these people for so long. And so New York, they had a state bill that passed, and a bunch of stores had to go humane or close. And by go humane, I mean only sell rescue puppies. So a few months ago in December, the state bill went into effect that caused all of the New York pet stores to stop selling puppies and sell dogs, cats, kittens, rabbits, whatever, from shelters and rescues. And so we did a post on Facebook acknowledging that the bill had passed and that all of these people lost their jobs. So we did both, right? We acknowledged the bill passed. That's what advocates wanted. We talked about it. And then we said we are also acknowledging that right around Christmas, a lot of families are now without a job. And that's it, right? It's just, we wanted to acknowledge that those families also have something going on. The comments we got were wild from people who were just like, well, they should have thought about that before they got into this work, and they should have had a plan, and they might have had a plan, right? Of course, those people didn't wait until day of closing to find a new job, and maybe they did, I don't know. But the message was, we can acknowledge that the bill that everyone worked on went into effect, and instead of going humane, there are a lot of people who lost their jobs. That's it.
Two things can be true at the same time.
Right. Yeah. And to have people who are just like, well, it's their fault. And how dare they for getting into XYZ? And it's like, we all take jobs for so many reasons, right? And it was just a weird, like, I don't know, I was shocked to see that kind of pushback on something so, I just thought it was normal and common sense for us to acknowledge someone might have lost their job.
Yeah, and we're not saying it's bad because people lost their job. It is what it is. Here's what it is, and let's hold space for both of these things. I know I've seen a lot of comments in the just on things that we've posted or just in general and chatter about dog breeding, and people will make the comment that like, these people need to get a job. And I always want to be like, that they have a job. That's their job, is breeding dogs. And you might not think it's a good job or they shouldn't be doing that job, but like that statement is like, what do you mean get a job? Like, they have a job. And if you think of them as a demonic force torturing dogs, then that doesn't sound like a job. But in reality, on the ground, this is that person's job. So when you approach it as this is their job, now you understand when you're trying to shut them down, what you're trying to do is put them out of a job. Now imagine somebody makes it their focus to get you fired from your job. And that is their number one focus. And they are posting on social media, they're calling your employer, they're talking to your coworkers, they're harassing your family to get you to lose your job. They may have great motives because the job you're doing is hurting animals. However, that's not how we do it. And we need to hold space for the fact that that person is going to push back because that's their job.
Right.
There's other ways maybe to get them to change how they're doing their job or the job that they're doing besides harassment and bullying.
Be kind to people, be ruthless to systems. Like, there is a way. And, even with rescue, everyone has different adoption policies. Everyone has different ways of getting their dogs. Some people pay for dogs. Some people get free dogs. Like, while we have stances on certain things, we are not trying to demonize and dehumanize human beings, because we now, it's sad to say, we now realize the gravity of our words, but that is why we're trying to be so mindful about how we speak and how we put out data that will, at the end of the day, affect people's businesses.
Yeah, and we've seen the value in sitting down at tables together and having those conversations and saying, talk to me about your adoption policies. Like, from my perspective, your policies are preventing people from adopting pets. And then they can say, from my perspective, here's why we have those policies. And then you see that, oh, okay, I don't like what you're doing, but I understand what's behind it. How can we work together to make it different so that you don't have to have that policy? And so that the people adopting the animals are coming from a different, perspective. Like, how do we work together to fix the problem? I will wager nothing has ever been fixed with harassment and shaming and hostility, right? If it's a fix, it's not a real fix, right? It's a box checking. Okay, now I'm out of trouble and this person isn't yelling at me anymore, but really I've just hidden the problem. I haven't made real effective change. If you're interested in making real effective change, sit down at the table, have the conversations be a part of the solution. Don't just scream at people online. That tells me you're not interested. And I've had people on personal posts that I've made that will come at me with stuff. And I, many, many, many times will send a message outside of that public forum and say, hey, let's get coffee. And do you know how many times I have been taken up on that?
How many?
Exactly zero. Exactly zero. I don't typically even get an answer. I love a good conversation. And if it's over coffee, I love it even more. And I love a good debate. You know this about me. And if you don't know me well, it almost is like, oh my gosh, are we fighting? We're not fighting. Like, I just love a debate. I love to work things out in real time. I don't take offense easily. So like, if you push back on something, I'm gonna be like, okay, but I have to talk that through and be like, wait, I don't agree, but hold on, like, convince me and let's talk. And like, that is part of the process. That's how we get to know each other. That's how we get to understand each other better. and work through stuff. And at the end of the day, we might be like, nope, still can't do it. But the dialogue was had and the thoughts are planted. And now as I go about my day, I'm still going to be thinking about that conversation and like, okay, but what could I do to move a little bit closer to where Mindi is? Like
it's right. It's like we're all just trying to inch closer to each other. And there are a lot of forces at play that don't want that to happen.
Right.
And a lot of it is motivated by money, policy, agendas, like whatever. But people are just wanting to keep humans apart.
Yeah. And if you're in this work and you're kind of motivated by that spite, use that, like recognize the forces at work, right? Recognize that the intention is for you to fight with each other so that the work doesn't get done. And then use that spite to connect more, right? Like,
yeah, Alexis and I constantly joke that we work because of spite, right? Like we are powering through all these documents for whatever personal reasons we have, but spite is not our main motivator. It's our joke, but we're not putting that spite on others, right? We have harnessed that energy to push ourselves to be the best and get the most done and get as much out there as possible. So we've harnessed that for ourselves. You can harness negative feelings for good. You truly can.
Yeah, and know who you're fighting against. And we throw around names. I was going to say, like, our enemy is not individual breeders. Our enemy is bad breeding. We do throw around names of notorious breeders that we have been
examples of the worst of the worst.
Just know our enemy is the practice. Our enemy is the work that's being done, not the human being, right? Like, we do not want that human being to be able to do more harm. However, we do not wish them harm.
Right. So it was so interesting. So when we were working on that Daniel Gingrich case in like 2021, we had not visited good kennels yet. We had not had conversations with breeders yet. My lens was exactly what I was dealing with. All the cruelty, the dying dogs, it was a horrific case. People wanted me to hate Daniel Gingrich. And they wanted me to say things about him. And our podcast was airing at that time. And I was still saying, I can't hate that person. He was a kid. And yeah, he did a bunch of things he shouldn't have done. But he also had other forces at play that were enabling him and directing him to do not great things. And so that was kind of an early onset for us when we were adjusting how we do things, I guess. But I don't know, it was just an example of how people wanted us to vilify. But yeah, even the breeders that we've met in this time, not everyone maybe likes us. I don't know. But I think that we've all left those interactions knowing that that person is completely different than I thought they were. And that's the goal.
Yeah. But isn't it easier just to make them a caricature than to go to the work of actually get to know them and their motivations and what's driving the behavior that you're not happy with, right? Like,
and that's one of the things I struggle with still. Like, we talk about this being like deconstruction, right? Like, we are working through this. I am still relearning how I want to educate people and talk to people just because this has been my life for so long. I call you or someone a bad guy, and I shouldn't, because what you're doing in one part of your life doesn't necessarily describe who you are or define who you are as a person in other aspects of your life. And so trying to get away from that good versus evil narrative goes beyond like what you're saying, where there are bad practices. That's what we should be saying. There are bad breeders, right? But when we're talking about the person, it is not fair to call that person evil. It is not person to call that person a bad person. You don't know them. And so that's kind of been something I'm trying to remove from my language, is because I say it so flippantly. Oh, like, oh yeah, he's a bad guy and I'm a good guy and yada yada. Like, it is easy to be very flippant with our words. It is much harder to be intentional and pause and think about what you want to say before you say it. And again, Facebook makes that even easier. You just type it and you walk away. You hit send and go. So
yeah, and there's a lot of reward for it.
Right. And that's it too. Like you had mentioned in those posts or in those comment sections, people are looking for others to agree with them. Yeah. And that's what they want. And there was a woman who was on my personal friend page, and she's no longer. I kept her for a long time. I wanted her to work through it, and she just couldn't. But every post I would make, she would make the exact same comment. It was almost a copy paste version of, well, you told me that, this breeder must be a puppy mill because they sell to pet stores. And it's like, yes, but I have also told you 16 different times how I'm changing my language and how you can change yours if you're interested. But still, it was anytime someone else would comment that was questioning or negative, they would say, I have the same question, and they refuse to answer me. And it's like, but no, I did answer you. You're still just trying to get more people in your corner. And that's not being an adult anyway, right? But it's just not helpful. And I don't know how to get people to understand, like, you're not going to stop our work, right? And even, the rescue, who had an unimaginable loss this week, the founder and the executive director, they have to keep going. They have to keep doing their work. So even those people who wanted that woman to stop, now she has a whole team of people who are going to do it even harder. And they're going to keep doing it even more because it's her spirit now. And it's completely different than the work that it started off with. And so it's just, I don't know why people do that. I will never understand why they bully until someone just cracks. And what do you get out of that? Watching another human break. I don't know.
Yeah. And are those folks, I mean, she had people commenting saying, you should kill yourself. Are they happy? Are they happy? Yeah. I mean, if you commented that, are you like, finally, got one? Right. Is there self-reflection? Is there regret? I don't know.
And we talked about that today. Like, do those people feel any ounce of ownership over this? Like, I know at the end of the day, like, I don't know. It's so hard. And are people self-reflecting, or are they saying, no, I would never harass someone, that wasn't me? And that's kind of what we've seen in our world.
Just because I said to do it didn't mean she had to do it. Okay, well, maybe just don't say it. Maybe just don't say it. Yeah, that was I've done youth group for years and years and years for people who don't know me, and that's something that for a while I don't know that it's as prevalent now. I have gotten away from the large group of kids I used to work with, but that is something that I would hear often, that kids who are being bullied, people are telling them, you should just kill yourself. I can't fathom what it feels like to hear that, and I can't fathom what is going on in someone to make them say that to another human.
And I think that's the part we don't talk about, is what is so hurting and broken inside of a human to put that hate and evil wishes on someone else. And I'm not saying that person is evil, but when you are wishing,
but what is going on with them to make them say that out loud? And that person needs just as much help as the other person who's being bullied. Like, there is something very not right happening in somebody who can say that to another person, whether it's in person or online. And so I would encourage those people who do find sport in making those kinds of comments online to maybe step back and do that evaluation of, what am I getting out of this? What is happening inside me that makes me feel better by reaching out in that manner? Like, yeah, there's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of stuff in our culture right now, a lot of mental illness that needs to be addressed.
But if you're in this work, like, there are things you can do to take care of yourself. We talk about the harassment we've received. Thank goodness we have a good team. We have a strong team. So harassment's easier to roll off our back sometimes. But in those cases, it has been a little frustrating. Our saving grace is we can just walk away from social media. Like, Bailing Out Benji exists on social media-ish. But the world of work that we do is off, and we do so much work behind the scenes that if I'm sick of person from XYZ saying things or bashing things, well, if I get off of Facebook, I don't see them anymore because they literally do not exist in my life. And I think that's what we need more of. We need to remember, and it's hard when your life exists on Facebook because you have to run a business, but it is okay to turn it off and go touch grass and go see the sun and just be outside with your dogs and your cats and just unplug, because those people exist in that world. They're not in your hopefully they're not in your day-to-day life that you see all the time. And so trying to take care of yourself in little ways will also help, but it has to be sustainable. Like people talk about compassion fatigue, and they're like, oh, we'll start coloring and, do this. And it's like, those are all temporary fixes too. Right. And we should have temporary fixes that help us and help us relax, but you need to come up with something sustainable that is taking things off of your plate long term. Yep. Because you can't exist in that like burnout, I have to save them all mentality.
Yeah. And we talk about the mental health world. Have your safety plan and have your self-care plan, and they're two different things. So safety plan is right now, I am either losing control of my emotions, I'm emotionally escalated, I am feeling hopeless, like whatever. What can I do right now to stop whatever is happening? It's racing thoughts or it's racing emotions. It could be I'm in a meeting and I can't get up and go take a walk outside and touch grass because I have to sit in this meeting. What can I do right now in this chair in my own head to get myself to do that? That's your safety plan. Like right now I need help. And then you've got your self-care plan, which is overall. What's your community look like? Do you have people outside of the animal welfare world that you can talk to, that you can lean on, that you can just have fun with? Do you have a connection to social organizations, to a church, to a group, to something like that that you do that fills you up? Do you exercise? How do you physically take care of your body? How do you mentally take care of your body? Are you eating right? Are you drinking water? Just like that general taking care of yourself so that when something stressful happens, you're in a better place to deal with it. And then if it gets you down, you've got that other plan that's like, okay, right now, I need to snap out of this. I had on my safety plan things like one was go outside and take a walk because I love to be in nature. I had to do like something prayerful or meditative just to kind of sit. I had like a song that brings me joy, that I'm like, if I'm sitting in a meeting, I'm just going to start singing this song in my head and just different things like that, like just thinking of things that I could do in any scenario that could like bring me back to reality, because sometimes the thing that's happening feels like the only thing, the hugest thing. And that voice is the most important voice. And you need that thing that can recenter you to like, hold on. Is this a voice I need to listen to? Is this the big thing?
Because how often in those moments are you overwhelmed? This is the end of the world. And then in 3 months, you're like, oh my God, I overreacted. Right. Like that wasn't that big of a deal. But in the moment, it felt so big and it felt like you couldn't escape it. So yeah, just trying to get yourself those safety nets to get out of those big feeling moments until you can think more clearly is so helpful.
Yeah, and having those safe spaces you can retreat to. I can't imagine some of the people that do this work, that do work in the shelters and in the rescues and in animal control, and the things that they see and do and hear. What can you do at the end of a shift to just kind of escape for a minute, to just kind of exhale all of that from the day? Do you have an end of your day?
I don't.
Have you put those boundaries in place so that you have time that's not doing this work? We're working on you. You're a work in progress.
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah.
And it's good to have those people who can nudge you to do those things every now and then.
I do want to say competitions, right? Yeah, we did trivia last night. That was our self-care of the week. Our team was Ted's Turtle Rescue Squad because it was for Schitt's Creek, and we won first place. And yeah, we got to spend some time with a fun volunteer that we'll talk about in another episode. But it was great. It was a fun time. And more of that. Like even Alexis came in today and she was like, what can we do next? What's the next thing? And she was like, I love being home. I love my partner. I love being an introvert. But we feel so much better in community. Like she said that phrase today. I felt so much better in community. And as much as me, I love being on my couch and with my dogs and with my husband. Last night was so fun. The MC was a little weird. The questions were not great. We were there to win.
company was good, and we won the competition. That was our goal.
Right. But we all felt like rejuvenated afterwards, and it was just fun. So trying to find things like that are also helpful.
And we need people like Alexis to push us off our couch periodically. So yeah, that's good to have. Again, having those people in your life who are like, I think you need to go laugh. So let's go out and laugh tonight.
Yeah. Do you, off the top of your head, know the suicide hotline number?
988 is basically 911 for mental health concerns. So if you are having a heart attack, please call 911. If you are having an anxiety attack and you do not feel safe and you feel like you need support, 988 is that emergency hotline for mental health issues. Yeah, and suicide as well. I mean, you could, if you're having suicidal ideation, you can call the national hotlines for other various organizations, but 988 came on a while back as that simplified. Clearly, 911 makes it so much easier than having to like call your local police or whatever. And so that same thing for mental health was huge. And mental health issues are different than medical issues, right? So you call 911, you're going to get a police car, you're going to get an ambulance, you're going to get a fire truck, everybody's going to come. Mental health, you sometimes need a different approach. And so you will have access to mental health professionals calling 988. And you can also text 988. So if you're not a phone call type person, you can also text to get support that way. There's crisis text line. That's a text service that you can get, again, trained people on the other end who can talk you through a crisis, have really great tools to talk you through what you're going through to get you stabilized. And if that doesn't work, then they can call emergency services on your behalf with your consent and help you through that as well. So there's resources out there. I always say, like, have those people in your life that are like your lifelines, but not everyone does. So fortunately, there's those national hotline type places that do.
And my only other piece of advice would be to find friends outside of your work too, because you do need, I mean, I don't have a lot of friends because I have many friends. They're all in this work because I've done it for so long that now finding little pockets of people who don't know me as bailing out Benji is such a relief sometimes. And being able to talk and like talk things through or vent or whatever to someone who sees you as a human and not sees you as an organization is such a relief sometimes. So other people in those roles should also try to do that, because it's not fun to have your entire identity wrapped up in your organization and in your mission and in your passion. You make it your personality, and then you're tied to that for the rest of your life.
When someone attacks your work, they're attacking your personality, right? And so as the founder of Bailing Out Benji, it's very easy for that to be you, one and the same person. So when someone says Bailing Out Benji is evil, Mindi Callison is evil, is how that reads. And we're working to make that division. Like, we want to make that division not just for you, but for everyone. Bailing Out Benji is not Mindi Callison. Bailing Out Benji is 300 volunteers across this country doing really good work for this mission. That's not, we need that. It's healthy for everyone to have that distinction, right?
Yeah, it's just, taking care of yourself, take care of your people.
I think, and I don't want to like toot my own horn, but I think when you're talking about having friends outside the industry, I think that this is, since I've been here and I've seen kind of some of this stuff, I can reflect like some of this, like, this isn't normal. And when it's the water you're swimming in, it feels normal. Right. And then I can come in from outside of this world and be like, no, we don't respond to that. We don't listen to that. We don't answer to those people. Like, they don't get to tell us what it's just, to be able to reflect that, like, you understand this isn't how people react to each other. Like, this isn't normal. And then that, I think, makes it easier for you to be like, wait, you're right. This isn't how normal people interact, and I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm not going to respond to that. I'm not going to encourage it. So I think that's the benefit of having those people that are outside of the world you're in. It doesn't have to be animal welfare, any world that you're in. They all have their weird little group of friends, cultish behaviors that start to happen, like when you've got a group of people working in a certain field. So to have people outside of that to reflect that, like, this doesn't feel right. And then maybe one by one, people wake up to, like, wait, why do we do it this way? Let's do it different. Which is again kind of how I felt when we were at that roundtable with rescues and veterinarians and college people and like all of the different people that were there, where it was like you could kind of just see it shifting in people's brains, almost like, oh, I can let that narrative go. Like, this is a space where I can just let those talking points die and just have actual conversations with people who are doing things differently, but have the same motivation in their heart to end these practices. And it was just to kind of just watch people loosen up over a couple of days and realize, oh, right, I don't have to be at war.
Right. And that's it. Why are we attacking each other like we're at war? Like, we're a bunch of, like, typically women in this rescue work, like
bleeding hearts, right? Like, we see a bug and we catch and release, right? But we see a person and we attack. What? No.
It's gotten bizarre, and having outside perspective is very helpful to just have someone be like, no, this is not normal human behavior. We should not be treating each other this way. I'm sorry it's been happening, but that should not be the norm.
A phrase that I think I heard a lot since joining this world, that, like, I hate people, that's why I work with animals, which is cute on a pillow, but y'all, that's not real. Like, please don't hate the people. Like, still work with the animals and love the animals, but, like, don't hate the people. I don't know how else to say that. Like I hear that as like a cute little quip, and then I'm like, wait, are you serious? And I'm starting to think some of these people are. It's So that needs to change. We've lost. I think as we lose connection and as we lose community, we lose that connection to people's humanity, and makes it easier to say I hate people. So hopefully, as a society, we're getting fed up with that, and we'll start doing more things in community with each other.
Well, it's going to take people like us, though, right? So, like, if we're sitting at a table or we're in those rooms where we see negative and harassing and bullying behavior, like, it's not fun to be the person who stands up and say, like, I will not participate in that, but we have to. Like, it's getting to the point where we are seeing real life consequences play out, and we're losing wonderful people for no reason. And so if we want to put animals at the center of our work, and if we want to focus on making the world better for animals and whatever that looks like for you, you have to acknowledge that the people behind those missions are also doing really important work, and they matter.
Yeah, very well said.
Well, I don't really have anything else. I think we can wrap up.
Yeah.
So thank you all for sitting with us this week. It was kind of a different topic and a little heavier, but really important. So be kind to one another. Drink your water.
Yes.
Journal.
Touch grass.
Touch our fake grass.
Not plastic leaves. That's not ideal.
Yeah.
Play with dogs.
And just remember, like, tomorrow needs you. The animals need you. Your family needs you. Like, shit sucks sometimes, like, but you just have to keep going. So, and we need you. We're here for you. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you again next week. Bye.